Today, I'm making a copper mold gallery wall in my kitchen. I'm sharing my thrift finds for September. And then I'm headed to Newport, Rhode Island to visit stately Gilded Age mansions and enjoy stunning coastal views and charming New England ambiance. Finally, I will return home and I will share a delicious and easy pesto recipe with the last of the summer basil. I have wanted to do a copper mold gallery wall in my kitchen for some time. So I have been thrifting copper molds for the past few years, and I think I finally have enough to do my gallery wall. My kitchen is not very big, and I have limited wall space. The walls that I have are either too small for display purposes or they are taken up by kitchen cabinets. So this is the wall that I have to work with. And these are the copper molds that I have collected. So let me give you a closer look at what I have. So here's what I've collected so far. That's just an assorted collection of different shapes. I have the shell, I have heart, several fish. These are my most recent purchases. And I thought that they would look nice because they're a little different than the other ones that I have. They also introduce a little bit of brass into the collection. This is my favorite one. This is one that my husband found for me. It's a cat. I don't normally find, actually, I don't think I've ever seen a cat while thrifting. And we have two cats, so this is a special one for me. I also have this cow. These are a little dusty. Like I said, I have been holding on to some of these for several years. Now, if you notice, some of them are that bright copper, shiny finish, and others like this one have a bit of a tarnish on them. I think that the ones that have the shiny finish, like the fish and the heart, the shell, I think they have a lacquer finish on them, which keeps the finish as it is, meaning it's not going to tarnish. Now, these can be easily cleaned with a solution of warm water, soap, and a non-abrasive cloth. While as these are not lacquered, so they do tarnish over time. Now, I don't mind the tarnish. I actually think it's rather charming, but I do think there's a little bit of too much of a variance between the lacquered pieces and the unlacquered ones. So I'm going to clean the darker pieces with a copper cleaner just to make the color variance less noticeable and to make the collection look a little bit more cohesive. So as you can see, this is what I'm talking about when I'm referring to the variance in color between the lacquered pieces and the unlacquered pieces. So what I'm going to be doing is cleaning these so that the color variance is not as stark. I'm using this Wright's Copper Cream. This is not sponsored. This is just what I have on hand right now. I normally use the Barkeeper's Friend. That usually does a very good job on copper, but I don't have any of that right now, so I'm going to be using this. And for the lacquered pieces, I'm just going to use a little damp cloth and some soap and water to remove the dust. So here are the molds after I cleaned them all. The ones that I used the copper cream on, the unlacquered ones, they came out this rosy coppery hue, which is a little different than the other ones. The other ones are a little bit more orange. They were actually hard to clean because they had so many nooks and crannies that I wasn't able to get the tarnish from all of the places, but I still got most of it, and I'm pretty happy with the way that they look right now. After the molds were cleaned, I took them to the kitchen table And I started playing around with different arrangements just to see what I found pleasing and what I could later recreate on the kitchen wall. Then it was time to start hanging the molds on the wall. Now, I'm not very technical about hanging things on the wall. I usually eyeball everything. So I just started with the largest piece in the middle, and I figured I would work my way out. So the biggest piece was my cow mold. I just took a pencil, I kind of marked where I thought it should go and hammered the nail in, and that's the process that I use for all of them. So here is the wall after I finished hanging all of the molds. I decided to go ahead and style the little buffet that I have underneath the gallery wall. So I added this crocheted runner that my mother crocheted for me, a pitcher with some ornamental grass that I picked from my garden last season, and then I added a bowl of apples and some wicker wrapped bottles to complete the vignette. Well, then I thought I should add some more fall elements, so I remembered I had this antler in my bookshelf, so I got that. And I also have these salt and pepper shakers that are either little baby pheasants or partridges. So I thought that those had this autumnal feel, so I added them to the vignette as well. And here is the final product. I thrifted 4 items this month. Most of them were practical items, things that I had in my wish list for a while, so I was really excited to finally check some of those items off of my list. The first of those items are these 2 lampshades. I've been searching for these for probably 6 months. And now you know that thrift stores are just drowning in lampshades, but you don't know how hard it is to find 2 matching lampshades in fairly good condition, just the right size that you need them. So I finally found these 2. They were $1.99 each, which was a good price. And they're in really good condition. The size is just right. I also needed them to have this type of fitting because the 2 lamps that I'm going to be using these on have that harp attachment, so I need this type of lampshade. So there is some slight discoloration. I don't know if you can see that, like around the bottom here where it touches the wire frame, but that's fine because I'm going to be recovering these. I want to do the pleated lampshade style for my entryway table, so these are going to be perfect. The other practical item was this pillow insert. It's a round insert, $3.99, which I thought was a little bit expensive considering what it was, but it's brand new, never been used. And I'm working on a project for my bedroom, a little refresh, and I'm going to be doing a round pillow, so this pillow form will be perfect for that. The next thing I found were these 2 copper molds. So they were sold as a set for $2.99, which I thought was a really good deal. They're in very good condition. Both of them are tin lined, which to me it doesn't really make a difference because I don't use these for actual cooking. I just use them for display purposes. So these are going to go on the copper mold gallery wall that I've been wanting to do in my kitchen. So these are perfect for that. But the most exciting item of all is this picnic basket. I have a picnic basket already in this wicker woven style, but it has seen better days and the wicker is starting to fall apart. So I was thrilled when I walked into the thrift store, found this on the shelf for $14.99. I love the size of it. I was a little bit on the fence because $14.99, I felt I could have gotten it for cheaper if I had waited. But what really sold me was that when I opened it, it has this beautiful plaid lining. So I'm like, I cannot leave this behind. I have to take it. Other nice features of it include these, actually 3 glasses. This should be 4. One of them is missing, but it has glasses. And I should be able to find 4 matching glasses at the thrift store, so I'm not concerned about the fact that one of them is missing. It has 4 plates. It also has forks, and if I can get one out, forks, spoons, and knives for 4 people. It has this insulated bag to keep your sandwiches or your fruit cold. And assorted Tupperware, which maybe was left here by the previous owner. And they even left a bottle opener in there. So I was really happy to find this because, like I said, the one I have is not in the best condition, and this one is a really nice size. Everything is really well made, and it has this nice and sturdy shoulder strap for carrying. So this one was definitely the most exciting thrift find of September. There are 11 properties owned and maintained by the Preservation Society of Newport County. The most famous of these Gilded Age mansions is the Breakers. It's the grandest of Newport's summer cottages, as the owners refer to these mansions. It was built between 1893 and 1895 as a summer residence for Cornelius Vanderbilt II, and it was a symbol of the Vanderbilt family's social and financial preeminence in the Gilded Age of American history. The dining room, which was the largest in Newport at the time, has a table that extends to accommodate 34 chairs. There are 12 rose-colored stone columns of solid alabaster, as well as massive twin chandeliers and 12 wall sconces made of the finest French baccarat crystal. You can see just how opulent and how lavish this mansion is. It really rivals any of the palaces that I've visited in Europe. And to think that it only took 2 years to build, it's just amazing. It's full of beautiful furnishings, statues, carved fireplaces, chandeliers. It's just completely over the top. There are several rooms that you can visit in this mansion. I'm just showing some of the highlights. This is the music room, and this is where the owners hosted many of their summer gatherings. There's also a beautiful library that you can tour. And this is Mrs. Vanderbilt's bedroom. The rooms were quite large, but I still felt like there was a lot of furniture in these rooms. I don't know if this is the original way in which they were furnished or this was just something that was done by the Preservation Society. The furniture was beautiful, the wallpaper, everything was very tastefully done, but I just felt like there was a lot in this room. And then you step out into the balcony and see these stunning ocean views. The second of the 3 mansions we visited in Newport was Rosecliff. Rosecliff was built in 1902 for Nevada silver heiress Teresa Ulrichs. Its architecture is Baroque Revival and was used to film scenes of the 1974 movie The Great Gatsby with Mia Farrow and Robert Redford. There's also this charming rose garden off to the side that you can visit. Compared to the over-the-top opulence of the Breakers, Rosecliff felt very airy, very light, very serene. It was the most sparsely furnished of the 3 mansions that we visited because over the years it was owned by several families, and unfortunately many of the furnishings were sold off. This fireplace really caught my eye just because of the beautiful carvings. I can't imagine how long it took to make something like this. It's just stunning. The last mansion we toured was Marble House, and it's named Marble House because of the sheer volume of marble that was used in its construction. The house was built between 1888 and 1892 as a 39th birthday present for Alva Vanderbilt from her husband William Kissam Vanderbilt. Marble House was my favorite mansion of the 3 that we visited, just because even though it was still lavish, it was still opulent, I felt everything was so tastefully done and so elegant. I especially like the library with its tall ceilings, its beautiful antique furniture, fireplace, all of those bookshelves going all the way up to the ceiling filled with books. Alva Vanderbilt was a very interesting person. She was an activist, and she used her money and influence to champion women's rights causes, including the suffrage movement, which eventually gained the right to vote for American women. Another of my favorite rooms was this Gothic room, as it was called. Alva Vanderbilt acquired a collection of Renaissance and medieval artifacts from a French dealer, so she decided to build a room in her mansion that was appropriate to display these treasures. This room has this massive medieval-style fireplace. It has the Gothic-inspired stained glass windows, the chandeliers, the ceiling. Everything just transports you back to medieval Europe. I could have spent hours in this room. It was so beautiful. If touring Gilded Age mansions is not your cup of tea, there are still many things you can do in Newport. Newport is known as the sailing capital of the world, and its harbor hosted the America's Cup sailing regatta for many years. If you enjoy sailing, there are several companies that offer sailing tours of the bay. There are also several wineries and breweries to tour. And Newport is home to the International Tennis Hall of Fame. The most famous streets in Newport are Bellevue Avenue, where most of the Gilded Age mansions are located, and Thames Street. And both of these streets are full of boutiques and restaurants to explore. Downtown Newport also has a beautiful waterfront to explore, and there are many restaurants that offer dining with waterfront views. There's also a very active nightlife. When we went, the weather was very pleasant, so we saw many people dining outside, and it's just a very nice atmosphere to walk around and to enjoy the New England charm of this town. After returning home from vacation, I had a gardening chore that I had to attend to. I have this spot in my garden bed that has been basically taken over by black-eyed Susans. I don't know how they got there. I've never planted them. But what was happening was that they were starting to grow among the purple coneflowers, and they were starting to choke out everything else. So after the vacation, I felt like I finally had the energy to tackle this part of the flower bed. I had to remove some of the blocks that were making the border of the flower bed so that I could really get in there with a shovel, and I had to dig up all those clumps of purple coneflower and try to separate the black-eyed Susans as much as I could from the purple coneflowers. I saved some of the purple coneflowers because I replanted them later. As you can see here, this is after all the black-eyed Susans had been removed. I put the healthiest clumps of the purple coneflower back in. I mulched, I fixed the border, and I think these purple coneflowers are going to be very happy come next spring. I have this pot of Genovese basil right outside my kitchen door on the deck. So throughout the summer, I will harvest the leaves and I will use them to make delicious and easy pesto. Since I know that the season for basil is coming to an end, I wanted to harvest as much as I could before these went to seed so I can take advantage of the delicious flavor that they offer. Here's Oliver coming to examine the basil cuttings that I took. I took everything into the kitchen and I started putting the ingredients in the food processor. So I put the garlic, I put some lightly roasted walnuts, salt, pepper, and some lemon juice. The original recipe called for pine nuts, but I never have pine nuts at home, so I just use the nuts that I have. I have made pesto with walnuts before and it turned out just fine. So then I pulse everything together. It's useful to have a rubber spatula nearby because you will have to stop the food processor periodically, especially after adding the basil leaves. You want to scrape the sides just to make sure everything blends smoothly. Pesto is such an easy thing to make at home and it's so expensive at the store. And it's a great thing to have on hand for those days when you just don't know what to have for dinner. Here I'm adding the olive oil and again scraping the sides down. Pesto is so rich and so flavorful that it takes very little added to pasta to make a wonderful meal. And if you add a salad or some garlic bread, you have a complete meal right there. So I'm adding some more olive oil and even a little bit of water because I felt the consistency of the pesto was a little thick, and that's perfectly fine to do. And the last ingredient was the Parmesan cheese. I put everything in a clean glass jar, and I used the rubber spatula to push everything down to make sure that it was smooth at the top. And then you want to add a thin layer of olive oil, as this will protect the pesto from turning brown as it sits in the fridge. So make sure you do that every time that you spoon some out of the jar. Smooth out the surface of the pesto, pour a little bit of olive oil on top, and that will keep it green much longer. So here is the finished product. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a wonderful September, and I'll see you in the next video.